Now from Atlanta News First Plus, this is Sports Tonight.
Hello and welcome into ANF Plus Sports Tonight. I am Ellie Parker here with Connor Hines. Something of a dynamic duo. We tend to do this a lot.
How about it, Ellie? This is a big one today.
How about it? Lots to talk about. Let's just get right into it with the big news of the day. Atlanta Dream finding their next head coach in Florida Gulf Coast women's basketball head coach Karl Smesko. Bit of a surprise. He has created this mid-major powerhouse down in Florida, the only coach in that school's history, 23 years, Division II national champion, and then brought that program into Division I and has been wildly successful at that level, even in a sport that's very, very top-heavy. Ultimately, he has really, really done some good work down there. 6'11" and 112 in 23 years at the head of that program. And definitely an interesting pick for Atlanta Dream head coach, completely different from Tanisha Wright. Tanisha Wright was more of a defensive-minded head coach, and now we're moving to Karl Smesko, who really relies on the three-pointer in his offenses.
No doubt, and it's a completely different style, and you have to think that was intentional in Dan Patrick's
absolutely.
at this point, because of the lack of production from the Dream the last couple of years. So I think it was very intentional and clearly and intentionally out of the box hire, right? I mean, so often in the WNBA, it's just kind of an incestuous thing almost.
You just get the same coaches over and over.
There's a coaching tree and a coaching cycle, and one coach will jump from one team to the next. And there's a WNBA fraternity or sorority, I guess you could say, in there, and there's not there, at least in the past few years, hasn't been a ton of room for people
for new
like
coaches
Smesko,
like Smesko to come in.
So an out of the box hire, for sure, but hard to argue with results. Hard to argue with success.
And part of that sort of coaching circle is that a lot of college basketball coaches just make more money than WNBA coaches do. Obviously, multiple college programs have tried to poach him in the past. USC, Southern California, if you're being specific, tried to poach him in 2017. He said no, but right here in 2024, he's making the decision to come to the WNBA at the Atlanta Dream. So
it's exciting.
Had an interview with him after the announcement, so let's just get right into that.
All right, well, talk to me about your time here at Florida Gulf Coast and what it has meant.
Well, it's been an amazing experience, 20-plus years. We've had a lot of success here, a lot of amazing players, assistant coaches, and administrators and boosters that have helped us along the way have a really successful time, and it was a great time, but I was ready for a new challenge, and I'm really looking forward and excited to being part of the Dream.
You helped found this program, been the coach here since 2002. How hard is it to walk away from this?
Well, I mean, walking away right now with the players we have on the team is really tough, but I know our associate head coach is taking over, and she's a tremendous coach and a tremendous person and will do a great job. And for me, this is an opportunity that is just exceptional, and I can't wait to get started.
You currently sit amongst the best in women's college basketball. Talk to me about what you believe is the key to success for the teams that you coach.
Well, I mean, you have to develop relationships with the players, and the players have to learn how to work with one another, and then you just have to play really smart basketball, play together, share the ball, take good shots, things that just lead to winning.
The Atlanta Dream, they're coming off of a playoff berth, getting that last playoff berth in this year's WNBA playoffs, but what was it that was so appealing about the job for you?
Well, I had a great talk with Dan, the general manager. We have a similar vision for building this franchise into a consistent winner and hopefully to a championship level. I had a great meeting with the owner and his wife, and everything just seemed like a perfect fit. It was the right time, the right place, and when I saw the roster and the players, I thought something special could be built.
You know, for those in Atlanta who may not know your coaching style, what's the best way that you can describe it?
Well, we like to create a lot of space, really push the ball, work together to create great shots, and play in a style that is competitive, tough, but also very smart.
What are the above-the-line shots of ATLs? Will they be coming to the Dream, or how ironic do you call them ATLs?
Yeah, we've called them ATLs for a number of years, meaning above-the-line shots. That just means advantage layups or open catch-and-shoot threes, and we're trying to create as many of those shots as possible. So the ATLs will be brought to the ATL.
And when it comes to Ryan Howard and Alicia Gray, they're named to be two of the best players who fit what it is that you want them to do. What will it be like to coach them?
Well, I'm looking forward to it. I mean, they're all-stars. They're incredible talents. They have amazing skill sets, and there's a lot of young talent on the team. So I'm really excited to get to speak to them, learn more about them, and then hopefully implement a system that really showcases what they're capable of doing.
Tina Charles, a women's basketball legend, a basketball legend in general, do you have any plans to call her? She spent last season with the Dream.
Yeah, Tina's a legend, one of the greats of all time, had a great season last year. I plan on talking to all the players.
When do you plan on getting to Atlanta?
Soon. The press conference is next week. Officially being there full time, I'm not exactly sure on a date. That still needs to be worked out, but I'm looking to get there soon and get to work.
And what will your first order of business be?
Well, the first thing is connecting with the players. I want to start building that relationship right now. And then, Dan and I need to sit down and really go over a plan. In addition to that, I got to watch a lot more film to make sure that I really understand the strengths of everybody on the roster.
Coach, in your time here at Florida Gulf Coast, how active has the recruiting been when it comes down to the Fort Myers and the Sarasota and Bradenton and the Tampa markets? How many recruits would you say that you've had over the years that have been able to play from you out of those markets?
Well, there's been a few really good ones, but we kind of recruit nationally and even internationally at this point. So we just bring in the best players that we can find wherever they're from in the world, as long as they fit in with our style of play.
Do you have any parting words you'd like to say to the folks here in the Fort Myers community?
Well, the Fort Myers community has been outstanding. They've been great to me for a number of years, but I'm really looking forward to this next step in this.
Karl Smesko, new coach of the Atlanta Dream, definitely has me excited for the 2025 season.
I think you got to be, right? I mean, this is a guy who, as we discussed, has proven success at the college level. Now, of course, it's only a question of how does that success translate to the WNBA.
And a completely different style of play from Tanisha Wright, especially in the WNBA, which is already a three-point heavy league.
Yeah. I reached out to a former Division I head coach who's played him a bunch over the years and played his FGCU teams a bunch over the years, and they seem to think that his style is going to translate very well to the WNBA.
I think it'll translate very well. You just saw the New York Liberty win a championship on the back of their three-point play, basically.
Yeah.
You had Sabrina Ionescu. You had
good for ratings too.
Yeah, good for ratings too.
Good for ratings on Peachtree Sports Network.
Just like in baseball, chicks dig the three-pointer. What can I say? What can I say?
I like.
What can I say?
We love the three.
Very, very excited for this upcoming season.
It's funny. One more thing on him before we move on. The Athletic put out a really good piece on his style of play and what he calls above-the-line shots, or they're abbreviated as ATLs. So I thought the ATL style coming to the ATL, it's too perfect, right?
It's too perfect.
We had to get him here. So I think it's going to be a very exciting summer for the Dream.
Moving to a team that's not very exciting right now. How do you lose to the Saints?
Ellie, I didn't say that I saw it coming, but I should have. Because it's just one of those things where the Falcons, and
you left 13 points on the table.
I know it. But, here come all the cliches, right? Throw the records out the window when the Saints and Falcons get together, that kind of thing. Yes, it is a rivalry. I'm not surprised that the Saints, we talked a lot last week about how hard they would play after firing their head coach, Dennis Allen, and they played good enough to win. The Falcons played plenty bad enough to lose, and I think you can be surprised to a certain
I'm gonna
extent.
be honest. I think this was more the Falcons playing down to their competition than the Saints, getting that interim bump.
Is that the first time we've seen that this year? No, absolutely not.
No, absolutely not.
Falcons either playing down or playing up to competition level. But look, the good news here is that you have built yourself such a pad in the NFC South that there's no real cause for concern, and
You can tank a loss like this.
you can. I don't think they wanted to by any stretch, of
No.
course.
You never want to lose a rivalry game. Come on.
Yeah, I've heard it from somebody else in the organization that, it was pretty much a ghost town on that flight back from New Orleans. I don't think they were happy.
You ever been on a silent flight
Anyway.
where everybody is just dead?
No, because there's always
It's-
a crying
it's-
baby.
I've been on multiple. It's just
unsettling.
really eerie. It is. So
Yeah.
that sort of environment almost scares me.
Yeah. So I think it was a quiet flight, and as it should be, right? This is a team
Right.
that has very high aspirations and expectations for themselves, and now you got to go right back on the road this week against the Denver Broncos at elevation, and plenty of connections. Justin Simmons being the former Bronco, Caden Nellis's brother drafted by the Denver Broncos. So you need
Yeah.
this one.
Let's hear from Coach Raheem Morris.
Got a lot here.
Go ahead, buddy.
No, just Denver's defense. Trying to learn as much as I could about them over the last 48 hours.
Playing extremely well. Obviously coordinated by Vance Joseph. Obviously a guy I got a lot of respect for. Has seen a lot in this league. Had a bunch of time in Arizona. Was the head coach at Denver before. Spent a lot of time with Wade Phillips in his younger years. Has been really made his name and living off his man-match system, and then some of his blitzes at times that were able to come home and do some different things that they did with Wade. Obviously, Wade went out to L.A., took that system out that way. Obviously, the Fangio-Wade system has kind of crossed paths somewhat, and you'll be able to see a little bit of the different ways and some of the things he's taken and making his own out there in Denver. But he does such a great job of everything with his defense and absolutely getting those guys to play fast. Got a big-time D-line. All those guys can beat you in a pass rush. They have the ability to rush from each position. Obviously their kid inside is playing unbelievable lights-out football at the inside positions with Franklin Myers and all those different guys. On the outside, the young kids, Benito and all those kind of guys has been really rushing really well. Young Ohio State out there, those guys have been doing such a great job. And then obviously they got, first or second best corner in the league between him and our guy. Don't tell Ramsey I said that.
And we'll not do that. How are you injury-wise? You said you didn't feel great about the two tackles there, or in and the tackle.
Yeah, TQ, you'll see it later, but not great. Obviously, we'll have to make some significant changes there, and more likely won't see him this week. Then we actually talked about James into the game, and obviously we'll put the report out and what it's going to be, but not feeling great there, like I mentioned before. So probably won't see those guys. But, other than that, Troy made it through the game or came out of the game but went back in, was able to come back in. So we'll get another clearance of weekend for him. So hopefully one more week he'll be a lot better, a lot stronger, a lot faster, a lot more physically into it, and keeping him progressing into the ways we wanted to get him. To get back to Troy, I do this all day, so you got to excuse me for anybody else you want to talk about.
So Troy, you're thinking you're going to hold him out this week?
No, I'm not thinking that. I'm not thinking that right now. I'm thinking he'll be out there and take another stab at it and see what we can do. See how far we can get him going, Josh.
Rob, when it comes to Bo's progression as a quarterback, and we had 4 picks his first 2 games, but just 2 these final 8, is that one of the best things he's doing in the room, just taking care of the ball? Because other things you've seen very successfully within the quarterback.
I think it starts with Sean. I got to give him a lot of credit first just for Sean has always been known to get his quarterback easy completions. He's found a way to get his guys completions, found a way to get those guys comfortable, knowing exactly where to go, and be able to do all the proper things. And then Bo, getting a chance to know him personally, I know what type of listener he is. I know how well he can pick up those things and develop. So I got a lot of respect for him just throughout the draft process of being able to go work with him just a little bit and find out who he is and what he's about. And he's done a great job of using his legs. I think he's really taken the league by storm with his ability to run and all those type of things. And him finding easy completions and being able to do those things has been something they've done really well, and they're getting better and better at every single week, and that's why they've been so competitive.
Not having TQ and James, those guys play a good amount, especially James on the edge. What kind of changes are you expecting, and what kind of tweaks can you make?
Obviously you'll miss James and TQ both. Just you're talking about real physical presence and with our run game, real physical presence with our rush and with our push, real physical presence with our hustle and our effort, and then just definitely, leadership type qualities that they both possess will definitely be missed. But, that's the reason I talked about the depth of that defensive line, the possible emergence of Dorless, all types of things that you got from a front standpoint that you can do. And in the outside linebacker position, hoping to get back Zoe and some of those type of people this week to be some of those different things. And, we got a bunch of different options that we can do. Obviously, potentially opening those windows, doing those different things this week with him.
Do you see Dorless maybe being active?
It's a good chance. Obviously you got to go to the practice week and do some of those different things and find out but to talk about Dorless, he's done a magnificent job in practice, in the preparation for these moments that we talked about a couple weeks ago about our rookies and those guys being really learning. Remember Rook was able to pick those things up, got in the game, ended up getting an injury, and now maybe a little bit of time for Dorless. Who knows?
You guys have been a really good second half team this year, made some good adjustments at halftime, both sides of the ball. For some reason, the first half, there have been some slow starts. I think last week, 26 yards in the first quarter. What do you owe that to?
I don't really think this week was necessarily the first half. This week was like the first drive, and then the guys kind of settled down and got some things going. You don't know. You got to start faster. You got to figure out how to come out and start fast. Jimmy Lake made a big emphasis of his meeting today. He had a couple visual clips for those guys. I'll save that for his press conference tomorrow. But it is just about starting a little bit faster and getting those guys to come out. And the whole process this year, those guys getting more confident and playing faster, I think is just a part of it. So I love the growth mindset that they're going to. That's got to be something that we focus on this week. You don't like to necessarily go out there and say start fast, because then what if you don't? Let's go in the tank. We didn't start fast. That's not how it goes. You got to go out there and still finish the game. But you like to start fast. You like to finish faster.
Raheem, when you talk about those running abilities, is it more about his ability to pick up yardage with his legs, or extending plays and creating that second play?
It's been both. It's been really shocking. You always knew he can extend plays of what he did in college, things of that nature. But he's had some actual designed runs for him. He's actually had a couple different things that looks like, the new age running quarterback, which you didn't necessarily give him credit for. Really, I didn't before this year. And I always knew he could run, knew he's an athlete, knew he's pretty good with those things. But to see him bring that stuff to life in the pros is different.
It seems like because of that, the RPO package has been a little part of their game plan. What, from a defense perspective, what does that force you guys to do when you play an offense that utilizes that?
Obviously it becomes more of the college system, so to speak. That's not what Sean necessarily did, but he's a great coach like most guys do, and they do what that quarterback can do or what they have done and what they have success with. So him having a little bit of success with that in college, he carried it over. So for us, that just makes you play a little more matchy, make you play a little sticky. It brings those rundowns to life more. That's a part of extension of their run game. So you get ready to stop that with the run. So the run now is not just the handing off from the quarterback, but it's also some of the throws that you provide. It's also some of the things that you provide with their run alerts or their pass alerts or things of that nature. But just got to go out there and play defense like we've been doing. It's kind of just becoming normal in the National Football League right now with that kind of a run game. But it's just not as normal for a guy like Sean to have to put it in.
Look, as a Bears fan, I know the pain. I know the pain.
I think the difference between, respectfully, with all respect to the Bears, I think the difference is that with the Falcons, it's more a sense of frustration right now, Ellie, because
people are definitely frustrated with the Bears.
Well, okay,
thank
frustration.
God Shane Waldron is gone.
Of course, but frustration because they know the expectations are higher. They know Absolutely. They're capable of achieving said expectations in a really weak NFC South. And when you lose to a 2-7 Saints team, that bugs the living you-know-what out of you. So, what do they call it? What's the turn of phrase? Flush it, baby. You got to flush it and move on to the next. And it's a big opportunity against the talented Broncos defense this Sunday in Denver on the road, playing in elevation, never easy. So,
speaking of a team that's never made it easy, Atlanta United surviving and advancing, prepping for Orlando City on November 24th in Orlando.
Incredible.
This has been a great run. They're playing with house money. I'm sorry.
I mean, this is quickly becoming, and I think I've said this on this show before, this is quickly becoming, in some ways, just as impressive as the 2018 run. Not because Atlanta United was as good this year as they were in 2018, but actually just the opposite. They were so bad all year, and then got things together and
gets fired. Rob Valentino comes in.
Well, first of all, I mean, you needed like 3 different things to go your way on decision day just to get in.
One was beating Orlando City.
And one was beating Orlando City, the team that they play now in the, help me out here, conference semifinals.
Conference semifinals.
Okay. So, look, it's not a best of 3. It's a 1-game series. It's a,
you just got to win one. Winner take all.
And
From here on out, it's one match.
Another playoff cliche, but everyone's good in the playoffs. Everyone deserves to be there. But I think
anything can happen.
Anything can happen in the playoffs, all that. But I think especially with this team, the way Atlanta matches up against Orlando, just take that last game of the regular season. I mean,
we've seen it before. We saw it on decision day.
And I think more than anything else, Ellie, you need a goalkeeper who's hot to win an MLS Cup title.
I wonder which team has a goalkeeper who's hot, who does the Superman pose as he blocks a ball with his chest. If anything has encapsulated this team on the second half of the season, it's that.
It's Brad Guzan.
That man.
Yep, he's the man, and he's still making it happen at the ripe old age of however old he is.
Dax McCarty, you gotta put off the vacation just a little bit longer.
Oh boy, yeah. He tweeted "whelp" or something to that effect. I mean, we're moving on. And I think the most interesting thing about this period now is you have such a longer gap in between games. And rightfully so. I mean, Atlanta United has been gassed the past month, just playing every game as if it were their last, really. So a much welcomed break, but a break where you're going to get better and correct things because you do have 10 days now until that match against Orlando. So time will tell, and we will continue to talk about Atlanta United on this show. But, oh, my goodness, I cannot believe that they are still playing soccer on the 13th of November. Who would have thought, Ellie? Who would have thought?
Who would have thought? The Hawks got, I'm just going to say they got a little bit lucky.
Yeah. Sometimes it's better to be lucky than good.
Sometimes better be lucky than good. If I told you in a vacuum that a team scored 116 points with a 37-point performance by one player and a 31-point performance by another.
Yeah, you would
think that team wins.
Yep.
No.
Dyson
Daniels and Jalen Johnson say no, not on our watch.
Listen, we've talked a lot about Dyson Daniels' defense already this season.
Leads the league in steals.
He
is him. I'm sorry.
Which is incredible in its own right, and you're going to need that all year. But how about a career-high 28 points from Dyson Daniels? Jalen Johnson, as you mentioned, the triple-double. Here's the thing, Ellie. I mean, when you hear the big three, you think of the big three in the NBA. Every team in the NBA kind of needs a big three now, and I think the Hawks have theirs with Dyson Daniels, Jalen Johnson, and Zachary Risachet. I mean,
that's interesting because they did all of this without Trae Young last night.
Exactly, and I mean, you've shown that you can win without Trae. Of course, Trae's a part of that.
And you have a guy like Larry Nance Jr. coming off the bench, dropping 19. Hot take: the Hawks may have won the Murray trade. if Dyson Daniels and Larry Nance Jr. are going to keep doing this.
What a concept, right? No, look, I mean, that's not to say that Trae Young is not a huge part of this success. But on another night where Atlanta finds a way to get it done without a triple-double from Trey or whatever it is, makes you think, what does the long-term future of this team look like? And you just locked up JJ on a long-term deal. Dyson Daniels comes over in the trade. Trae Young is now in his 7th season as a Hawk, so take it or leave it. And then Reece Shea is meeting expectations as a rookie for the most part. He's got his off nights, but the kid's, 17 years old?
Yeah, and this was a bit of an off night. 4-13 from the floor, just 9 rebounds, just 8 points. But, they pulled it off. Not because they were dragging, not because they were dragging him across the line, but he's a guy where, I'm going to be honest, he doesn't have to be the number 1 pick. He doesn't have to be Victor Wembanyama, kicking and dragging this team, kicking and screaming by himself.
Right.
He has Trey. He has Jalen Johnson. He has Dyson Daniels.
No doubt.
He has Clint Capella. It's not just on him.
I mean, when you have all of that going, and then you get like a Clint Capella 7 for 8 shooting, I mean,
sure.
Why
not?
There's your recipe right there. I mean, you have the guys to at
Team's
least have,
much better than 5 and 7. I'll put it that way.
Yeah, and I mean, you have the talent and the resources at your disposal to have a really exciting season. Yeah. And I think that's all.
It's been a really exciting season so far, even with the 5 and 7 record. Again, I think they're much better than that.
Sure.
And certain things have just not gone their way.
Yeah.
But this has been a really exciting team to watch.
No doubt. No doubt.
All right, what's on your mind?
I'm gonna stick with basketball here, Ellie. I'm a big college basketball fan. Got used to watching a lot of it when I was at Indiana University. College basketball is back last night in the House of the Hawks, the Champions Classic. Kansas beat Michigan State in what was just really an ugly basketball game, for lack of a better term. I don't know how good you feel if you're a Kansas fan, being a fan of the number 1 team in the country. Do they look like a number 1 team? I don't know. It was all about the second game last night. Kentucky upsetting Duke. My goodness. Cooper Flagg, the freshman.
That was a great game.
Cooper Flagg, he's going to, the freshman for Duke, he's probably going to be the number 1 overall pick in the NBA draft next year. And he had a great night. But he turned the ball over twice in the final minute of the game, and Kentucky had a hot second half shooting. And my goodness, the place was ready to blow up. I mean, so many Kentucky fans there last night. It was awesome.
Kentucky travels well. I mean, so does Duke.
It was an awesome atmosphere. I love college basketball as much as, Hawks diehards love the Hawks around here, and love the NBA too. But what about you, Ellie?
Sticking with the NBA, San Antonio Spurs coach Greg Popovich suffered a minor stroke on November 2nd, and one just has to say, get well soon.
Yeah.
The dude has been the Spurs for 29 years. He's been
legend.
He is a legend. He is a Hall of Famer. He is one of the best coaches in NBA history, and you have to hope that this is not how it ends. That he's back courtside soon.
No, and I mean, when you think of Pop, you think of a guy that puts literally every ounce of his being into coaching winning basketball teams. It really gives a whole new meaning to putting your life on the line for the sport. And that's Pop, man.
Yeah, that's Pop.
Greg Popovich is a legend. So hopefully he
get well soon.
Yeah.
We're running out of time. For Connor Hines, I'm Ellie Parker. This has been ANF Sports Tonight. Go watch some sports.